Hello, everyone. I am here with Bun Bun Bonanza's very own Lyarri.
Hi, happy to be here. Excited for Launchpad.
Yeah, excited for Launchpad. Launchpad is literally just around the corner. It is tomorrow, actually. And well, with Launchpad just around the corner, we are in the perfect season to rank Launchpad teams, right? That is very exciting to do, and it's really fun to see what up and comers might come and face off against you soon. And let's just jump right into things. Which 7 teams, Liari, do you think will make it through this Launchpad?
Yeah, can I have one moment to turn on a light that I forgot to turn on?
Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much. Okay, there. Now we have more lighting. Okay.
Woo.
Um, should I just continue
Yeah,
from the
go ahead.
question?
Go ahead.
Okay, so the, the 7 teams I think are most likely to make it through this first launch pad. Well, I think seating's pretty right. Modern Magic, Lions Eat Bears, Eaters, Chills, Polar Vortex, Ember's Flame, and Corpse Control are all the teams that I see as having the highest chance. I could definitely see Corpse Control in particular not making it. There's a lot of teams that are like right around that skill bracket. And I'm excited to see how like Kyber Swipe does when Assertive returns. I don't think they'll do good this weekend.
Yeah, that's for sure. Any teams you want to like particularly expand on there? I mean, we could probably go into each of the
Yeah.
teams and just take a quick look at why you think they'll make it. So we can start with Modern
Yeah,
Magic.
Modern Magic is just, I mean, in every role they have like at least NASA level players, probably NASA. Um, Carmine is just really, really good. Forgot previous NASA midfielder was on Cosmic Calamities,
Yep.
almost made it to playoffs, really talented. Ron P, bit of an off meta player. Plays Strike Shot Kai, Strike Shot Estelle, but has consistently had success on those picks, and he's definitely the player that I'm looking at as he could be the weak link of this team. And if they don't make Nassau, like I would definitely be looking at his play in the VODs, but he's consistently had good results, and that team has just like they have a lot of firepower. Carmine is a Nassau level brawler. Forgot has proven he's a Nassau level midfielder,
Yeah.
and can definitely make it far. Um, Lions Eat Bears, on the other hand, this is a really interesting team to me. We're gonna talk about this later, but they're one of the teams I think could be higher variants.
Mm-hmm.
Lolamau XCDD had a really good performance at the recent LAN, but isn't on LAN ping anymore and struggles a little bit on Denver, and also is besides that real pretty good. He's known as Erasmus One Trick, but has um, kind of beat those allegations over time and settled on to some other picks. Kazan did get nerfed, which was one of his more better picks, but we'll see. I think he can adjust to X and Asher. Um, and then Vens coming off of the Fools, hard player to rate. I think he played a very specific style with Zoro, and with John Fortnite, who I think is planning to play like Mako and Atlas pretty much. Um, Sometimes Zoro would pick those characters, but Zoro would also pick the Kai a lot. And when you're playing with Mako and Atlas, you have to do a lot more and be you have to carry a lot more because just kind of gonna they're just kind of gonna hold things down, and then it's up to the forwards to score.
I mean, notably, John
Excite
Fortnite is
Yeah.
also a Kai player.
Yeah, I think his plan with that team is to play Mako Atlas
Right.
mostly. Even though he does have the Kai, maybe we'll see it, but this team like just came together last minute because their goalie, I don't know why he left, but he left. And then John Fortnite kind of like came in literally like yesterday or the day before. I think they barely played together. Um, so if I'm them, I'm playing like Mako Atlas every game.
Hmm.
Um, And then, yeah, E-Daters. This is a really interesting team. I think they took one series last time in Launchpad,
Mm-hmm.
but they have Vladilena going to goalie. They have, which is his main role, and then they have Color Craze coming in as a midfielder and Flop Top going to Brawler as a result. Flop Top is fine at Brawler, and Flatalina has looked pretty solid recently in net and solo queue, and specifically Color Craze is like insane. The Fool's Wands got second in Nasty last season, and I personally like consider that mostly because of him. I think he is really good. Arguably, like at least the second best midfielder in this pool, in my opinion. You can definitely make arguments that like Jay is better than him, or like um maybe I'll prove it, or I'll prove it after this weekend. But the only competition on paper that you can really give him is like Forgot and Jay, and I would take Color Craze over Jay just because of Color Craze's proven ability to carry, and also like if your only competition is Forgot and like 7 teams qualify from Launchpad 1, that's a pretty good place to be.
Right.
Um, yeah. And then I guess I'll go to Whoa Chills. Woo.
Oh yeah.
Um, so this team is pretty high variance just by nature. They're pretty for fun. I don't really know what they're trying for this season. I know has recently started picking up more melee oriented goalies, defensive stuff. I'm not sure if like he's stuck with that. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. ZZZ, like weird player, fun, unique style. Um, and Taco is just kind of like doing whatever Taco needs to do to like enable his team. Um, they should make it through Launchpad 1. They could easily just not, because they have like a bad day, or like they have a bad meta read or something. Um, Exciting team to watch though. And then Polar Cortex. This is a fun team. I like them a lot. I told uh A to try out Name Chaotic for the Brawler spot,
Ah.
and I liked how they've kind of come together. Um, they've had some good weekly performances. I think A in particular is a player that I'm kind of like have my eye on, because he is someone who recently got to a lower ping. He used to be commonly on like 90 plus ping, and now he's on 60 everywhere. Which is a big like improvement for him. And I think it shows in his solo queue ladder time. He's been top of the leader, but near the top of the leaderboard for a while now. Um, and yeah, I'm excited to see how he does. And this is kind of like he was a sub for Corpse Control last season, but didn't really get to play much. And I think it wasn't because of the lack of his skill, but because of how much Jack Smack and Carmine have played together for so long. And now he has this chance to like kind of come into his own and prove himself, which is really exciting. And then the other players on that team, named Chaotic, is known as a Kazan one trick, but I think in the last Launchpad proved that like this guy can play other picks. He has a Juliet. He can find some really unique KOs, and with this team, I think he has to do less than his last team, and he can just kind of like focus on being this creative, quirky player that I feel like I see him being. Um, and finally, Elo Taurus is kind of like their wall, right? Like he plays Atlas. I think he plays Kai. Um, he's not gonna like core for them a lot of the time, but he is someone who can hold it down. And the goalie pool in Launchpad isn't like anything crazy. The best goalie in Launchpad is probably like Ron P. I sorry, I'm like now I'm thinking.
That's
Yeah, the
fair.
best goalie in Launchpad is probably like Ron P. And I don't think Elo Torres is like that far off Ron P, especially like given his character pool and what he has to do on his team. All he has to do is hold it down. And then theoretically, Name Chaotic and I should be good enough to just kind of like score. I think they're one of the better forward midfielder pairs in this bracket, and I could easily see them like overperform their seed or whatever. Because I think like right now they're expected to make it out of losers side. I could easily see them making it out of winners.
Yeah, for the record, the list I did give you is not official seeding. It's just like a rough, like sort of kind of teams. Um,
Oh, I have the
oh,
seeding,
you have
but
this. Okay, got it. Yeah.
um let me I never even looked at your sheet, so
Oh no, that's perfectly fine. You can keep taking a look at yours. So, what about the
oh yeah,
last
no,
two
sorry. I was
teams?
just I was just curious if it was any different. Last 2 teams. Yes, sorry, I distracted easily. So Ember's Flame, pretty solid team. J Dog, former NASA player on Plink Plonk. They are pretty good. Actually we scrimmed them Dunbun recently, and they were solid. I think Wisp is gonna surprise people and come with a lot of non-Kazan goalie picks,
Mm-hmm.
which I think if you only know Wisp for the Kazan goalie, I could see why someone would think this team wouldn't make it to liftoff, but he's fine on Atlas. His other picks are a little weaker. If teams figure out to ban the Atlas, then they could struggle. But I think as a core, like Mr. Zert and J Dog are both very passionate players who are really driven to improve and really actually want to make it all the way to Nassau. I don't think anyone has them making it there, but having that passion and that desire and dedication to improve, and J-Dog is someone who has like played at a high level in Rocket League and multiple other competitive games where that just out of like passion. Um I think this team could definitely overperform expectations, and I'm excited to see how they do.
Yeah,
Um yeah, and corpse control. I I'm such a yapper.
that's fine.
You can interrupt me if you ever want to, by the
Oh
way.
no,
I
we
don't
have the
know.
time for now. Don't worry about it.
Okay. So yeah, corpse control. They're missing Carmine, which is huge, right? This is a completely
Mm.
different team than the corpse control we saw in Nasty. Um, Previously they played for Carmine, right? They were trying to enable him and just let him score. Now with this team, we is a significantly different player. How he plays the game is typically through killing the enemy, right? He's gonna kill the enemy midfielder, he might kill their goalie, he might kill their brawler. Just depends. So for this team to find success, Zach Smack is gonna have to step up and be able to score a bit, and I think he can do it. I think Zach Smack knew that he had to play a role previously with Carmine and now is playing a different role. And I think he's able to do that and able to make those adjustments. Furthermore, Andy is a bit of a meme sometimes because of how he is very particular about trying to find KOs and looking for KOs and giving up like defensive prowess for that. Um, However, he has the right brawler for that style. We is really good at finding those, at like confirming those KOs that um Andy will sack like skills or will use skills to soak damage on people, and then we'll convert the kill. And Zack Smack should be able to hold it down good enough in midfield. Um, I'm expecting this team to work. They're not going to be as strong as they were previously, but I could easily see them making the jump from Nasty to NASA.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I guess, talking about all these different players, are there any standout players that you think should be watched either on these teams or another team?
Yeah, so Carmine is like obvious answer, right? Number
Right,
one,
of
everyone has
course.
probably said this. Yeah, he's just really good at scoring. He grinds constantly. He cares about the game. He cares about winning, and he's a great player to watch. Um, Color Craze, I mentioned him previously. Insane player, nasty, coming into a team that's underperformed a lot last Launchpad, but now looks completely different and could easily make it to liftoff and beyond. And then I've also mentioned them. New player that, or not new player, but has better internet, hasn't really been seen in league play before, and has been grinding a lot. Really excited to see them. And then for players that are like off that like top 7 team list, let me see if I can find someone really quick to talk about.
Might have a bit of a known Asher forward who a lot of people have been talking about.
Yeah, the guy that that team, like I don't expect them to make it the top 8, but that the guy that gets is like a pretty fun player that people like to watch, and definitely that team could like overperform expectations. I'd be a little surprised. The greatest meme is role swapping from brawler to midfield, I'm pretty sure, which is a big change to make. Um, and Dragonclaw is kind of a one-dimensional Atlas player. I think she's really good at Atlas, but it's hard to see what'll happen if Atlas gets picked or banned from them. Um, I think on Whiplash, the 8th seed, right? Yeah.
Hmm.
Um, they are a team where Point and Alalira are both like solid NASA level players in my opinion. Probably like not towards the top of NASA, but they could definitely like compete and improve and all that stuff. But Hungry Boy, I've seen him when he has his highs and when he has his lows.
Yeah,
Um, I think if he is performing and that he like, and I feel like he performs best in like these kinds of environments where like, as far as I know on this team, he's just a sub for Tempo Melon who's not here this week.
correct.
Um, and he's just kind of vibing and playing for fun. I think he'll do well. And if this team makes it to top seven and makes it to liftoff, it'll probably be because of him just gelling today and vibing. Um, I think it's fun and I think it's cool to watch when Hungry Boy performs.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
I mean, any other players you want to mention? Because I was actually gonna ask if, based on these players you mentioned, any upsets you kind of see happening.
Um, Really quickly before I mention
Go
upsets,
ahead.
I did want to talk about Just Logan because he is
Oh
role swapping
yes.
from brawler to goalie, and that is really cool.
Yeah.
Um, he is also playing with Dave and Ziyoshi, who are both players who have never been in a league and have a lot to prove. And I think if this team ends up making it to Nasty or NASA, it will be because Logan has acclimated to goalie well. And I think it's really cool to watch because I don't think we've ever seen a player except for like I think the other good comparison would be Assertive also made that change from brawler to goalie, but
Yes.
they're both like some of the first players to do that. Scyther 12 did it in reverse.
Yeah. Reverse.
But yeah, so I think it'll be cool to see how that works. And obviously next week when Assertive is here, how it works for them too. But yeah, and then for upset potential, um, I think Ballin' Ballers is a safe answer here.
Mm-hmm.
They've existed for a while. They're really familiar with each other, and sometimes like you're just a team that has been recently established against a longer standing team that has been in higher pressure situations, and as a result, that like longer standing team just has the backbone to make it through.
Right.
Um, and then I also mentioned Whiplash a little bit. Obviously, Hungry Boy, I think they're slightly outside of the range of teams that can make the top seven. I could definitely see them doing it. And then Coin and Alalir are like solid NASA level players. And any other teams could make an upset.
Any thoughts on flying blobos, perhaps?
Flying Blobos. I mean, it's really hard to rate them because Fire Madden isn't a midfield main. Um, And like they until a few days ago, they were planning to play with J-Man, their typical midfielder. I think I've seen Fire Madden and Solo Q on midfield, and like he's fine at the role. Pensando also like pretty solid player. Alpha Me solid player. They're all solid players, but they only existed as a team very recently.
Right.
It's really hard for me to see, but they out of the teams in their range, they definitely have like some of the higher variants.
True. And I mean, speaking about variants specifically, right? You already mentioned Lions Eat Bears. You already mentioned Woe Chills, and now potentially Flying Blobos. Any other teams you wanted to add to that list?
Yeah, I think F- Famine, F Corp, is another team that would definitely be on that list. I think you just have a team of two players, with me and Flowers, who, um, sorry, my dog needs something. Can I have like
Yeah, go ahead. Go
one
ahead.
minute? Okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, no worries.
Did it actually pause? No, it
No, it
didn't.
didn't
It just lied to
pause.
me.
You can
Okay,
just turn your video off and then, yeah.
yes, I'm a genius. Don't worry.
All good.
Okay, PRV.
Okay.
Okay, I'm back.
Oh,
Do
welcome
you hear
back.
my dog drinking water?
I do not.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. I mean, quick side note before we continue. I just scrolled through
Yeah,
and it looks like I'm the only person in this Launchpad playing that played in the prototype. Anyway,
that's crazy. Wait, didn't ZZZ?
ZZZ, did he? Maybe he just didn't fill out that section. I'm gonna take a quick scroll through again. ZZZ listed Project P, which was actually not the very, very beginning. Prototype, I think, was until like mid or 2021.
I see, I
Yeah.
see.
Anyway, okay. Back to where we were.
Yeah,
So I'll just kind of intro us back in and you'll continue. So
yeah.
you were talking about multiple teams that had variants, right? We talked about Lions Eat Bears, Woe Chills, Flying Blobos, and also Famine F Corp.
Yeah, that's the team I was just talking about. They are with Gwimi and Flowers as like their core brawler forward duo. This team kind of exists for Patot to hold while Gwimi and Flowers figure out a kill. I'm assuming that's how most of their games end up looking.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a play style that like I think it can work really well at this level. They could make an upset, right? Um, but it can also go very poorly if they happen to find teams in bracket who just are looking for those KOs. Um, Flowers had a really good run at the last launch pad. Some really good upsets and almost made it to liftoff, if I remember correctly.
They
Actually, no,
did
they
make it
did
in.
make it to liftoff.
Yep.
Yeah.
They almost
And
made
they were like,
NASA.
yeah, they almost say NASA. Yeah, they like came really close. That was a Twisty and of course, Gemini. The Golden I think came in for
For
liftoff.
liftoff. Yeah.
Um, but still like pretty good run.
Yep.
Definitely a player who has proven like they have these high highs, but I do think the lows exist, and I'm really curious to see where they are on Saturday.
Of course, yeah. But with variance on the opposite side, we have consistency, right? And consistency is what a lot of these teams are looking for, and especially the ones that want to make it to NASA or at least NASA, right? So I kind of want to ask you, are there any teams that you think are probably locks for NASA or at the very least almost locks for NASA?
Yeah, I would definitely say like there's no team here that is a lock for Nassau, in my opinion. The pool of teams that are competing for Nassau are too good. Once you get to like the landing, those
Yeah,
teams are pretty good, and I think while Carmine Forgot and Ron P on Modern Magic are very clear contenders for a Nassau spot, they're not a lock. They are a lock for NASA, at least. That I'm confident saying. Any other teams that are like a lock for NASA? Um, Really hard for me to say, honestly. I
mm-hmm.
think there's a lot of teams that have stick together. There are teams that have sticking together from NASA, right? Like I'm not just imagining
Yeah,
things.
so PLX, Rose Petals, well, okay, Rose Petals is LLC rebranded. PLX and
Yeah.
Pass are staying together. And then Chatting went to PPL, which is going to be in Landing.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So I mean, like, I guess that okay, that means there's like a few NASA teams already up there.
Mm-hmm.
And then no nasty teams get floated. So yeah, I mean, I'll say that I think like it is really hard for me to say which teams are like NASA like locked. I think there's a lot of teams that could fight for NASA. Like every team qualifying for this launch pad will probably be a contender for NASA. I don't think there's like that much distinguishing like these teams past like the top one. um, I think like Lola Mal and Vens when they had their original goalie, I think that was one of the teams I was looking at as like a lock for at least
Sure.
NASA. It's hard to see now with John Fortnite. They can still make it, but like there's a lot more variance there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then yeah, like all these other teams, like I think like by the seeding, right? I could make an argument for like the top like 18 teams to somehow get into NASA, right?
Wow.
Um, I
Insane.
I think like there is a lot of skill parity between these teams, along with like a number of teams that just can be really hot or really cold on the day.
Sure.
Um, yeah,
Well, I mean, I'd say that about wraps it up for the teams themselves, but I think we do want to talk a little bit about the meta going into Launchpad, right? Because after Nassau, that is when we had that patch that kind of shifted things quite a lot. So I just kind of want to ask you any picks or bans that you feel are going to be really important coming into Launchpad.
not sure. That character already was picked a lot during playoffs. Hasn't been nerfed at all.
Mm-hmm.
Really good. Definitely expecting to see that one. Besides that, X is still a menace. Those two are
Sure.
like the best brawlers right now. I think Now is really good this patch. I think the like change on her secondary was a buff in the end because of the cooldown getting lower.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then Kai also seems pretty solid. I've had to pick him up recently, and like I have like 3 games as Kai in my career. Um, Besides that, goalie Mako. It's another Mako patch.
Yep.
Every single launch pad, there has been a Mako patch. It feels like. Yeah. So that's really cool. Not a fan of Mako. Aimee is really good again with Super Surge getting re-added and all these Dash Awakenings. I think that's at least one of the fun picks to watch this patch.
Yep.
So that's cool.
Yeah. So I kind of wanted to ask you specifically about midfield, being a
Yeah.
midfielder yourself, right? You mentioned Now is probably the best. Kai is also still very good. Aimee is pretty solid as well.
Yeah.
I've heard talks about others say, Juno, Estelle are still very solid. How would you kind of rank the midfielders as a whole?
In my opinion, you have Now at the top, and then you have Estelle Kai kind of even. I personally have felt like, but I haven't played much this patch, but I felt like Kai is a little better right now because of the Awakening pool. Could be wrong, not
Mm-hmm.
100% confident.
Sure.
Um, but I think Juno is in a good spot right now. She's a niche counter pick in specific starts, against specific characters like Estelle, but she has a good matchup into. Um, and then additionally, Aimee, obviously really good. I think like the top 4 midfielders are like the Now, Kai, Estelle, Aimee. Aimee would not be last in that list.
Okay.
She could
Just
be
making that clear.
second. Um, I think like I don't know. I really rate Now really highly.
Yeah.
I haven't been able to play against like the top KO teams recently, so maybe I play against them and I die a lot of Now because she has a low stagger pool and I rethink her being the best. But at least right now, from my experience, like every game I just want to lock in Now.
Yeah, for sure. Now is kind of proven to be pretty strong right now, but on the opposite side of the best meta picks, right? Any off meta picks that you think some of these Launchpad players will be pulling out?
So I mentioned Juno a few times, J-Dog, not
Sure.
necessarily off meta, but obviously J-Dog, known Juno player, gonna be picking that probably. It's one of the better like midfielders this patch that functions as like an off meta like counter pick kind of spot.
Mm-hmm.
Besides that, Ron P, Strike Shot Kai, Strike Shot Estelle, Strike Shot Jakar, all of those aren't really meta right now. He's made them work for a while. Gonna continue making them work.
Yep.
Forgot's Luna.
Ooh.
Luna is one of the midfielders that we don't really see often right now, but Forgot plays it. So does Andy in the net. Both of them could definitely pull out the Luna, and that would be really fun to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Besides that, Color Craze's Vice, along with Flowers Vice, both of them really good at finding those like unique little kills. If you ever see Color Craze on Tycho, look at how he kills people off the middle drum. It's really good.
Ah, right. The
Um,
primary middle bounce into the alt.
yeah, he does. Yeah, or like yeah, he'll do that on Drakkar. He'll do that on Vice. He'll do that on anyone he plays. Um, and then besides that, Wisp's Kazan goalie is really notable. Um, One of those like surprise team player picks that can work pretty well, especially against this level of teams. And then finally, there was one other off meta pick player that I wanted to shout out. Um, is
Mm.
my brain lagging? Oh, yes. Okay, so I think this isn't really they might pop off a bit in this launch pad. Expo Chan on Cyberswipe.
Right.
She plays Rune. Um, the only rune player I think in like this top 20 of team list, really. Right? Is that actually true?
Taco, no?
Oh, true. Taco plays rune. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry. One of the two rune players, Taco and his Expo Chan, both could pull that out. I think I've never really seen Rochills play Rune and find success with it, but
It's
I've
usually
seen
because it's
Cyber Swipe.
banned.
That's true.
Yeah.
I have seen Cyber Swipe have success
Oh,
though,
yes.
and they don't have assertive this weekend, so maybe
Hmm.
not. But if they do end up making it this weekend, I think a lot of that is going to be because of like Expo Chan having a really good day.
Right. That makes sense. Any other players you want to shout out, or
Yeah, there's no other like niche. I guess Mr. Flambeau is also a rune player.
right?
My
Yeah.
fault, Mr. Flambeau. But yeah, I mean, I would like start shouting out like folks that are like are we supposed to like hype up any of the folks who are like lower in the
I mean,
like
hey,
lower
if you
seeded
want to,
teams?
right? You could kind of talk about players
Okay.
maybe to watch, right? From the low end.
Okay. Let me see. Are there any players there that like okay, Laz, the known
Yeah.
known Drakkar player, teaming with the Golden and Ty Snowy, who's also a Drakkar player, I think.
Yep.
Um, really interesting team, but I think Laz and Golden both have hands. They're both good players. Like Laz, like I mean, I'm not gonna lie, this is the most random like goalie like mental block to have. But like when I find Laz in solo queue and he's playing fucking goalie, he gaps me. I cannot score on him. I don't know why. I have like a mental block. And this guy's a midfielder, right? Like I trust Laz. He can do anything in my eyes. Laz can do anything.
Yeah.
He can even carry this team that's like probably seated like 25th into launch liftoff. I believe in him.
Okay, yeah. Nice to hear.
Okay. Anyone else? Um, I don't know. There's no one like I mean Pensando is really cool. I
Okay.
really like Pensando as a player. He has a Juno goalie, you know. I play with Lily Bun. I have a lot of respect for Juno goalies.
Mm-hmm.
I think Pensando had a fine performance last Launchpad with Lunar Mouse and Loki.
Yep.
Um this team looks pretty fairly similar in terms of like expected result or like I would personally put them a little bit out of that range of teams that end up making it through Launchpad 1, but they
Mm-hmm.
could. And if they do, I think that's going to be Pensando having a good day.
Yeah.
He is a player who has been near the top of the leaderboard in solo queue, and then the next day, like, sits in Challenger. Um, Depends.
Yeah.
So hopefully he rolls high, and if he does, I can see that team definitely overperforming and having a great day.
Yeah, all right, sounds good. Well, I think that is most of the questions I have. There is one more thing I kind of want to ask you before we wrap up. It's really just, are there any, I guess, is there any message you kind of have to all the Launchpad teams that are playing this week or even next week that you kind of want to give to them?
Um, at least for me, like I've been competing in Omega's records for a while, right? And been a I've changed and grown a lot since I started
Hmm.
competing. And I think it's really important to be able to roll with the punches. You can have like high expectations, right? You can be like, I'm gonna make Nassel, I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna beat Vaughn, I'm gonna beat Kainub. Um, and hey, like that's how you get there, right? But it's
Yeah,
also important to understand that like esports, there's luck to it. Sometimes you just underperform on the day and shit happens, right? So my message would be like, just roll with the punches and do your best and try and find a team that you like and have fun with, because like
agree.
there's things that you can't control. You can control that you're having fun.
For sure. All right, well, sounds good. Once again, thank you, Liari, for coming on. It's a pleasure having you.
Hey, thank you. Thank you for having me, hosting me, all that stuff.
Yeah, well, with that, since we don't really have much else to say, thank you everyone for watching and make sure you're there at Launchpad. All right, take care, everyone.
I support this message.